One of my favorite TV shows to watch with my wife is the Great British Baking Show. I don't even consider myself much of a baker. I enjoy more cooking, but something about the tense but very calm multitasking and expertise of non professionals is so enticing to me. I don't know if you like cooking at all or baking or you enjoy those tense moments of maybe it's sports or some other type of competition or show that requires a high amount of excellence in multitasking. This has to be cooked just right. And while that is being cooked, you must also be preparing something else. How do you do with multitasking? Does it easily overwhelm you? Do you consider yourself to be good at multitasking or not? I personally consider myself to be pretty good at multitasking, or at least that's what I think. I may not, but from my own perspective, sometimes I need to be really good at multitasking, whether I think I'm good or not. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. The demands of your life, your home, your family, your work, who you are. There can be a lot of expectations that require you to multitask in a significant way. That you might have a lot on your plate that you just need to handle. It's not an option for you not to succeed. And so in all of this multitasking, you can have a certain amount of feelings of, does anyone even notice what I'm doing here? Or I would much rather dedicate myself to one thing, but because my attention has to be spread out so much, I can't give as much as I would like to. And what if you're handling so much on your plate and it seems like those around you are not doing anything to step in and take some of that off of you? That the only reason you're being flustered and overwhelmed and multitasking with so many things is because no one else is stepping in to take care of some of that load, some of that burden. Well, there's this story in the Bible, Luke chapter 10, starting in verse 38, where something like this happens. So it says, "Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house." This is welcoming Jesus into their house. And so Martha is there, welcomes Jesus into her house. Martha, she had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. So a follower of Jesus. Watch this. But Martha was distracted with much serving. She was distracted with much serving. So Mary, also sitting at the feet of Jesus regularly, a follower of Jesus, someone who listens to Jesus' words and sits at his feet. And Martha, but she was distracted with much serving. When you're handling a lot of different things on your plate, one of the things that's most important for you to get into the mindset of is being proactive rather than reactive. Proactive instead of reactive. Sometimes we get into such a mindset and such a rut of multitasking and handling things as they come, we end up just doing whatever we can in the moment, reacting to any situation that comes our way and doing our best in that, but not going out of our way to proactively prepare for these things that are happening. So, knowing a meeting is coming up, and instead of preparing for that meeting 5 minutes before the meeting is happening, preparing for it the day before. Or if you have meetings that day before, then you have to actually prepare a further way out. Or you know that something is going to happen later in your day, something about something simple as a meal. You need to prepare a meal for your family. But you wait until later into the day, until it's time for the whole family to eat, and you go, okay, what are we going to eat? There's no preparation. There's no, let's make sure we have anything. And then you end up scrambling to actually fulfill that task that is coming up. And so we need to shift from just being reactive of as things come, we just act and just try and buffer them away, and being more proactive of there's these things that are coming up and we plan and we prepare and we succeed in those ways. And the more proactive we are, the less that we will need to react to, because we're controlling more of those situations. And so that's just a mindset that we need to move to be able to do that. Like For example, in the case of someone like Martha, preparing food and serving the people who are there, one of the ways you do that is by preparing the things ahead of time. Because then, if you're preparing it all last minute and all of that, what if you start burning some food? Okay, then you have to start throwing some things out, and you have to wash the pot, and you have to stop the smoke from rising while you're also still trying to monitor the whole situation and make sure the people there get what they want. And so, being distracted with much serving, being distracted with many things may actually draw you away from that which is going to bring you the most joy, bring you the most life, bring you the most success. Do you really need to be distracted with all those things that are distracting you? Or is there some that you can proactively push off your plate and take care of at another time? Think about that in your own life. What is really distracting you? And is that pulling you away from things that matter and are important in your life? Is it causing you to have to be more reactive than proactive with the things that come your way, whether they be problems or not, or just responsibilities, that you would be distracted with much serving? And because Martha was distracted with much serving, in verse 39, into verse 40, it says, she approached him and said, Lord, speaking to Jesus, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Do you not care? You see, Martha in this situation feels like Jesus is just watching her struggle, just watching her having to manage what it is to serve a house party, a house dinner. Do you not even care of what is happening here? You know, you might hear pots and pans going in the kitchen. I know that is my signal to go help my wife, or to step in to help with someone if I'm at a party or I'm joining someone and I hear pots and pans and I hear things coming from the kitchen or from another room. I go, oh, I should probably get up and go help this person, wherever it may be. That's the signal to say, oh, maybe I should go help someone. There seems to be a lot going on over there. And Martha is saying, man, all of this is going on. Do you even care of what I'm doing here? Do you even care that I'm distracted? Do you even care that I'm serving in this way? What? Do you even care? Almost seeming like I'm forsaken. I'm not present, so you're not present. There's no help. And sometimes when that happens, we make some noise to get some attention. Sometimes not in the best of ways. When we cry out for attention, from help from our friends or from family or from a mentor or from teachers or from our boss or from our partners, of saying, do you even hear me? Do you even see me? I need help. And so this distraction that Martha has gotten herself into actually leads her to the place where she feels like she is not cared about, that she is not paid attention to, because she has not taken care of those things, because she has too much on her plate in many ways. And that leads her to that place, which is not a place where we want to be. That's not a comfortable place to be saying, does anyone even care? Is anyone even listening to what I'm going through? It seems like I have been lost and no one is going to step in to help me. But what's happening at that time? Mary is at the feet of Jesus. Martha is doing much serving. You see, Mary, in this situation, she's sitting at Jesus' feet and hearing his word. She's not going to move from that position. That's where she's decided where she is going to be, and that is where she is. Should she be over there helping with Martha? Well, some would say that, and that she is shirking her duty to be in the kitchen at the time culturally to go be preparing with Martha. And that may be the case culturally. But that's not what Mary has signed up to do in this way. You see, Mary is at the feet of Jesus, and that's what she wants to do. She's not going to be distracted. She is not going to step away. This is where she has chosen to be. And so when Martha says, hey, do you not even care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore, tell her to help me. Mary has chosen a place for her to stay. She has chosen a spot where she wants to sit and spend her time. And that is what God has called her to do. Not specifically that, but to step out in faith. To say, this is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. But also to Martha, to speak her mind. To see something and say something. To say, hey, God, do you see me? Do you see what's going on? And that is something that we can do. We can boldly go before God and say, God, do you see me? Do you recognize me? Do you hear me? Do you care about what I'm going through in my life? We can do that. We can call on God and ask him to do those things and to see if he truly cares about us and is a part of our life and caring about what we're going through. And so Martha and Mary kind of here are going against traditions, this pushback. Women were to be with the women and men were to be with the men, and the men would be in the room with the tables, and that's where the food would be served, and the women would be serving the food for them. And the men would have their own room, their own section where they were eating, and the women would be separate. They would eat together by themselves. They would be in the kitchen or another room, wherever the things were being prepared. So Mary says, nope, I'm going to sit with Jesus. I want to spend time with Jesus. And Martha is serving, and she's having a problem when someone else is doing something that is against the tradition, but also not with what she herself is doing. And the reality is when God asks us to step out in faith, you might need to break some traditions along the way. You can't wait for there to be 100% safety or 100% buy-in. You can't wait for things just to be a perfect sunny day, an opportunity for things just to fall into alignment. Sometimes there are some traditions that will bar the way from you getting what you want and what God is actually calling you to do. And so if you want to spend your time with Jesus and things are distracting you, you need to make a way to be able to do that. And sometimes that might not be the most appropriate, but that may be what God is calling you to do. And so Mary had no problem with that. She said, this is where I want to be, and this is what I'm going to do. Martha, see, well, why can't I be the one there? Why am I doing this? God calls us to very different things, each and every one of us. But the much distraction of her serving left a longing in her heart to spend more time with the Lord. I don't think it was as much that Mary was not helping her, that Martha would also want something like that. And this is responsibility of us where we do some things because they're expected of us, but also we need to deal with the desire of our hearts, where it doesn't lead us to bitterness. It doesn't lead us to jealousy. And not that she was jealous, but it doesn't lead us to a place in our hearts where we don't feel cared for. Do you not even care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Surely Jesus cares. But Jesus answers and says to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. She's worried. She's got a lot on her mind. She's very distracted. She has a lot going on. But one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her. See, Mary wanted it so badly. Yeah, maybe she should be helping, but this is where she wants to be. This is where she has resigned herself to be. And Martha, when she says, tell her to help me, that's not, could you ask her to help me? Hey, could you ask her to step in and help me for a moment? No, he says, tell her to help me. That's an imperative. That's a demand, not necessarily a request. It's not an ask for Jesus to tell her to help her. This is telling Jesus what to do. Have you ever told God what to do? Have you ever had some situation or experience in your life where you say, God, you need to do this? That's bold. And Jesus doesn't necessarily scold her. He just says, hey, I hear that you are troubled about many things. I hear that there's a lot going on that is on your mind, that is on your heart. But as for Mary, she's chosen what she wants. She's chosen this for her life. She's chosen this good thing. Kind of leaving it in her shoes of, she's chosen her thing. You also can choose yours, Martha. You also can choose. You also can do what is best in this situation too. But as for Mary, he's not going to tell Mary to change. He's also not telling Martha to. He's just defending Mary, but also recognizing Martha's pain. And so there is a place for us where maybe you might be so bold to tell God what to do. To ask God, to tell God, God, do you see me? Do you care about me? Where are you in all of this? I need you to show up. You need to do this, Lord. And that is bold. That is bold to tell the Lord of all the universe, God, I need you to step in. God, I need you to change something. I need you to change what's going on in this situation. I need you to do some of these things. And maybe it might not always be the best answer that you get back, but you have an opportunity to tell God in a way, what you want him to do. Is that how it will always happen? No. But Martha was so bold. She wasn't scolded for it. She was recognized actually in her feelings and affirmed in that way. And even found being instructed a little bit about what Mary is doing is not necessarily what Martha is doing. And you don't have to go that same exact path just because. And so when you're frustrated by other people doing different things than you and you feel like they should also be in that same path, don't feel lesser. Don't feel like you're missing out on things unless the distractions are distracting you from more time with the Lord. Unless they're distracting you from a deeper walk with Him. Unless they're distracting you from something you would rather have at a higher priority. And if that is so, that is on you to make those priorities clear so that you can spend that time, so that you can go to that depth of that relationship, so you can have success in that thing which you have desired for and that God has placed on your heart today. And so recognize that God sees you, God hears you, He does care, you have not been forsaken. Pick up the call to step out in faith. Step out in faith, pushing against traditions, pushing against things that are just there and that you've allowed to happen in your life that may not be as set in stone as you may think. And maybe, just maybe, being even so bold to go before the Lord, call upon Him, to ask of Him, to tell Him what you're going through, to tell Him where you want help, to tell Him what you would like out of your relationship with Him. Being so bold to do that. Is that something you can do this morning? I pray with faith and with boldness and with God on your side, you and I might be so bold to get what we want out of this relationship, to be bold in our faith, in our prayer, in our walk with Him, growing closer, that we might step out in faith, know that the Lord cares, and be able to ask God to show up in various different ways of our life. And if so, I think there'll be many great things to show for it. Thanks.